In the last video, we took care of all the classic dungeons, so now let's take a little bit of a better look at the raids. We already had a look at some bosses inside the Molten Core, but there were some others that we had not scoped out yet. So that is where we set off to first. We start off with Lucifron, and we have another shot at the dogs. In some attempts I do manage to get one or two down, but getting all of them down at the same time is still quite challenging. But then I see an opportunity. Near the patrol path of the boss, there seems to be a big enough gap between the Corehound packs where I could potentially pull the boss without pulling any of the Corehounds. I stealth in between and pull a Corehound pack anyway. I sneak over again, a few more feet to the right and try again, maybe a bit too much. Well, third time's the charm. Using my corpse as an indicator of my fails, I continue on to find the perfect spot. A few pixels to stand where we can pull the boss without attracting any of the Corehounds. And soon enough, we engage the boss without any ads around. I decide to focus down one of the ads, but I'm getting slammed hard. Melee after melee chips away at my health, and getting the ad down to 72%, I fall too far behind on healing and go down to the damage. Looking at the damage taken, most of this is due to melee attacks, and if I would be able to get one of the ads down, I should be able to live the rest of the fight quite easily. Again, melee attacks hitting hard seems to be a recurring problem. I shift my focus to Gore, a giant rock elemental with an army of ads around him. Courage fades when seeing the sheer amount of ads I will have to tank. But there is a saving grace here. The ads are not immune to CC, so I can at least root one of them to reduce my damage intake slightly. And they also only have 20k HP, which in the grand scheme of things is not a crazy amount to overcome. As I root one of the ads, I pull the boss, and I immediately feel the pressure of a dozen ads and melee attacks hitting me in the face. I run back to Gar and wonder if rooting one of them works. Would rooting all of them work? Druids have a talent called Mass Entangle, and this roots all targets within a certain range for 10 seconds. If I can root the majority of the ads, I may be able to focus some down one by one, and hopefully I will be able to survive the onslaught of attacks from Gar himself. I set myself up for the pull and well, let's get ready here. So I pull one and then Mass Entangle. You can wait, what? You can entangle Gar? Wait, what? Wait. Can I root Gar? No way. It seems like I have overlooked one major component of the fight. And that is the fact that Gar himself is actually rootable. This changes everything. My single target root lasts 30 seconds compared to the mass roots lasting only 10. So if I can chain entangling roots on him while the other ads are rooted as well, I could potentially keep Gar out of the fight forever. With this new strategy, I give it a couple more attempts, but the melee attacks of the ads get me again and again. Some of the ads are starting to get quite low on HP. Maybe with just a tad more gear we can take him? We leave the Molten Core behind, and we go off to explore our next raid. But still, there is this feeling that lingers that most of these bosses in the Molten Core seemed quite possible. I just need a little bit more. Off to Blackwing Lair next, where the next boss is quite unique, Razor Gore the Untamed. The goal of this fight is not just to kill him. No. You need to use this mind control orb first to take control of Razor Gore. Then you can walk around the room, destroy all the eggs, and then you can kill him. If you don't do that, the boss fight will reset. On top of that, there are constant waves of ads spawning that will try to get rid of me, or Razor Gore, with either one of us dying ending the fight. We start the fight off by focusing down this controller, as with him alive we cannot control Razor Gore. We have a couple of seconds before Razor Gore makes his way over, so we burst as much damage as we can until we get conflagrated, disorienting me for 10 seconds. Luckily for me, this usually shifts the aggro of the mobs onto Razor Gore, keeping me alive for a bit longer. After the initial conflagration, we immediately get mind controlled by the controller, further CCing us and actually making us deal damage to Razor Gore. We're not off to a great start here. And as this CC chain continues, it does not take long for me to fall. We did, however, get the controller down, meaning we would not have to deal with the mind control anymore. And if we can get him down sooner, we should be able to control Razor Gore and get rid of the conflagrations on me as well. We pull him a couple more times, but end up falling to the same CC chain every time. And as every wipe forces me to watch them fight until Razor Gore dies, I decide to move on for now. 2 more raids left in Classic, and as I said last episode, we will be taking down our first Classic raid bosses. So let's move on to the next raid in the Ruins of Ankarai, also known as Ankarai 20, or AQ20. We slowly make our way through the insect-infested haven before facing off with Kurinax. We immediately go into a pool, and the damage is actually quite low. We can easily live and out-heal his melee attacks. Aside from that, he spawns some pools beneath me, so if I keep moving I don't have to worry about those either. All goes well. Until we get hit by a Stijn debuff, Mortal Wound. For each stack of this debuff, we take 10% reduced healing, which becomes quite problematic once it stacks up to 4 to 5 stacks or even higher. In an effort to reset the debuff, we start kiting the boss onto some terrain and jump off to kite him even further away, as far as possible. But then, we get out-cheesed by a classic mechanic most bosses have here, which is the summon player ability. As soon as the boss can't melee someone, they will just summon a player with the most aggro on top of them. No resetting the debuff then, I guess. We give it a couple more tries before resorting to some good out-cheese myself. Before we can do this though, we need to clear all the trash between the entrance of the dungeon and the boss. And once that is done, we kite the boss all the way to the entrance of the dungeon. Now you might think that fighting the boss near the entrance will make no difference, but that is where some good old classic Emmental cheese comes in. With classic bosses, there is a short window between when you die, release, and the boss actually resetting, allowing me to do this. I just need to be really quickly. When you guys close your eyes, I need to press my magic button that Blizzard gave me. Okay, close your eyes, guys. Close your eyes. Don't look. Okay, good. You can look again. It's fine. Now, while I do not like to resort to clever use of game mechanics, let's just call it that way, shall we? I can resort to it if there's no other way for me to beat the boss. And while soloing, we sometimes have to resort to some of Blizzard's oversights. But I will do my very best to avoid this in the future. Now, off to the second boss, which starts off with a wave-style defense first, before the actual boss General Rajax comes rushing in to stomp our faces into the ground. My saving grace for this boss are these 5 NPCs here. They will help you beat up the insects in this wave-style defense, and they do a ton of damage. For the waves, we always have one captain with a unique ability and a mix of 2 other mob types. The Needlers have low HP but do a lot of damage, while the Warriors are tanky but deal a lot less damage. We talk to the NPCs to start the fight, and wave 1 gets sent out under the lead of Captain Queeze, with 2 Needlers and 4 Warriors. Queeze has a short range fear, but he goes down before he gets to cast it. I did however have to spend all of my cooldowns, and with the second wave containing 3 Needlers and Captain 2-Bit, who makes all enemies focus a specific target, removing the ability for me to let the NPCs tank a little bit. Eventually the damage is too much and I go down. With again, most damage taken being from melee attacks. There is a serious trend here. We give it a couple more attempts, but without the NPC damage it is much more difficult. So we decide to try and sneak by the boss and move on to another one. We make our way to Buru the Gorger, and this boss yet again has quite a unique mechanic. He will fixate on a player, me, and chase them down. If he reaches the target, he will start doing a lot of damage and also stack a nasty bleed on the target. Around the room we have these Buru eggs, and if we destroy these eggs while the boss is on top of them, it will deal a hefty amount of damage to the boss and stun him for a couple of seconds. The eggs will also spawn and add, which we need to take care of swiftly. On the first pool we let the bleed stack up way too high. So on the second attempt, I resort to a plan of a lot more kiting. But my route's a bit sloppy and the deep parts of the water put a stop to that plan quite quickly. A couple more sloppy learning pools later and we land on a strategy. We start off with nuking the egg furthest away from Buru, while dotting up the other nearby eggs. We then run all the way across the arena to nuke that egg until Buru reaches it. A quick dash in cat form gets us away from him and kite him around until I can get the next egg down. In the meantime, all of the eggs have had some dots sticking them lower, so after this next stun we can quite easily move from egg to egg and kill them as Buru runs on top of them. And with enough kiting, dotting, and cooldown usage for the bleeds, we push Buru into the last phase. All of the eggs disappear and spawn an ad. The boss is no longer kiteable, and instead of the bleed stacks, a lower nature damage dot is now on me. We finish off the ads and our race against the clock starts until eventually Buru the Gorger falls. We leave AQ20 there for now as we have one more raid to delve into, AQ40, the ultimate classic raid, at least after they moved Naxxramas to Lich King. And we very quickly come face to face with Profets Caris, the first boss in here. Expecting this to be the hardest raid, I look forward to the trashing I am about to receive, but actually his damage is quite low as we pull him, and we don't get absolutely trashed. The mechanic with him is that he regularly teleports away and spams Earthshock until he is engaged in melee again. And while his melee does not do too much damage, the Earthshocks do tend to hurt, but it is manageable, and we managed to live until 75% HP, where unfortunately another mechanic kicks in. Every 25% HP he loses, he spawns 2 copies of himself, with only 16k HP but doing a load of damage. And while I could live the hits from just the boss, with the copies added on top, it becomes too much damage to handle, and that is where our first attempt ends. I do a couple more science pulls, but they all end at the same point. For this boss, I would just need to find a way to live through that intermission, at least long enough to kill one of the ads. That should allow me to live through the fight. And again, the gears start working. But one thing I do realize is that if I want to stand a chance here, or in any of the other raids, I will need to get stronger. Much stronger. A plan starts forming in my head, a plan where I look at each minuscule point of power available to me. A plan with different gear sets catered to specific encounters, a plan with a lot of grinding. And if you want to stay up to date with my endless grinds, why not subscribe down below? And while you're down there, you might as well like and comment which boss you think will be the hardest in all of Classic. And if you want to catch me live, you can see me here and on Twitch every Tuesday around 4:30 PM GMT and every other Saturday. But I also have a schedule on my Discord channel, so don't worry about it too much and tune in there if you want to know when I'm going to be live next. Links to all of these can of course be found in the description below. This channel has grown massively, and for that I really want to thank each and every one of you. You are amazing. And in my way of giving back to the community, I am hosting a solo dungeon competition with some prizes for the winners. So if you're interested in that, there will be a video up with the rules soon enough, but you can also find the full rules in my Discord. Thank you very much everyone, and back to the video. We start the grind off with Legion Enchanting. I take some time to do some more questing in Legion as to get some more enchanting mats. And during this, we finish up Valor. In Azuna, I realized I should have paid way more attention in Kindergarten before collecting 5 pieces of a Tide Pod. But as we want to collect the last piece, the Tide Mistress claims her pod back, as she has quite some laundry to do for her queen. Just look at how little clothes she has left to put on. After filling my bags with gear once more, I disenchant all of it, before heading to the trainer in middle-aged Dalaran. But instead of teaching you like a normal trainer would, you are forced to engage into some minimum wage apprenticeship, only getting new recipes after running a bunch of errands nobody else wants to run. For our first errand, we fly back to Azuna to learn the rest of the ring enchants, before being sent off to Thunder Totem to crumble some elementals and disenchant some high mountain pants, trousers, whatever floats your boat. Returning to Dalaran unlocks us some cloak enchants. Not what I'm looking for. Well, off to do more chores as we head over to Valor, where after some brief disenchanting for a quest, we are sent into Darkheart Ticket to progress the quest further. I did this as a break from dungeons and raids blizzards, I just can't seem to escape them. Druid Galis is proficient in shapeshifting, with his cat form attack leaving a nasty bleed that gets removed if you heal above 90% HP, and his bear form charging right at you. With some proper dodging, however, there is not that much challenge, and we hastily stealth to the next boss. After getting chain feared back to the entrance of the dungeon, we engage Oakhart, and his main mechanic is the Crushing Grip, where he picks me up to crush me in his fists, just to realize that he, as a tree, is a vegetarian, after which I am peacefully put back down. The damage of the crush is not insignificant, so on my first attempt I end up going down to it. So on the next attempt I just make sure my health is high enough at all times to ensure I can survive the crushing grips, eventually leading to my victory. Dresseron is a pushover, just sidestep the breath and make sure you are healed before the earth-shaking roar, and the fight is over in no time. And lastly, Shade of Savus. His Feed the Weak drains your HP, so I keep an eye out on my health and heal when needed. And aside from that, I make sure I'm not too close to any friends with growing paranoia. Under 50% HP, he starts exploding the room, so expect a lot of movement, but that is easily handled by some bear form shifts, and with that, Darkheart Thicket is cleared. Let's see what we went through all that for. Oh, an enchant for more cloth. Super useful for what I need to, I'm sorry game, I can't really fake excitement for this one, unfortunately. Off to Stormheim. And after enchanting some inanimate objects for a lonely enchantress, we are sent off to the halls of Valor. On the way there, we take care of a random rare and get this spicy new trinket friend in Alpha's Paw. With flat versatility and a prog that summons some wargs to my side, there's nothing more I could wish from a trinket, right? Let's try it out in the halls of Valor. As we rob Heimdall from the Bifrost, we take a look at our new trinket's damage. Surely this pack of wolves has done a crazy amount of damage, or, you know, nothing. Not giving up on it yet, I make my way to Herja, and with her 2 goons out of the way we start the fight. And a fight it is. Her tank buster blowing right through my HP, but luckily for me, I get the option to heal up when she plants her feet for her signature abilities. A couple of heals and star surges later, she too goes down, to reward me with some scavenged cloth? What? Don't judge me, I didn't have any shoulder enchants yet. Before I move on, there is one very important thing I have to do. There. At least it's worth something now. Fenrir is next, and boy does he hurt. Especially with his cleave attack that you are supposed to share with your friends. Luckily for me, the fight is split into 2 parts, so I can wait for cooldowns to come back up and burn him before I run out of mana. The 4 mini-bosses before Skovald gave me some slight issues, but soon enough we are confronted by the God King himself. And for a God King, he does puny amounts of damage. Especially when channeling useless abilities that don't even do damage. Maybe next time, Skovald. Well, time to leave. Wait a minute. Odin wants to challenge me? That wouldn't be a fair match now, would it? Since Odin doesn't believe it would be fair either, I end up fighting his shins and make quick work of them, leaving with the requested enchanting rod. And what reward do we get for all this work? We learn how to make a pen? Really? Back to the enchanting trainer we go, to pick up a new quest, and back to Izuna we go to pick up more quests, and this person sells stuff. And this is where I learned that some of the neck enchants I was after are just sold here. Fortunately, all of the work I did was not for nothing, as the other neck enchants I want to unlock are through quests. So we had to go through all of that effort anyway. But at least we can enchant our neck now for a small stat gain. As usual, I start off with the versatility for the tank and his benefit of it. The real question is, will the tooltip lie to us? And yet again, it does. Giving us a measly 2 versatility instead of the juicy 7 that was advertised. But hey, it's better than nothing, right? Finishing off the quests unlocks me the rest of the neck enchants. So let's have a quick look into them. Aside from the secondary stat ones, we have Mark of the Ancient Priestess, giving a chance to heal a nearby ally for 165. Mark of the Claw, increasing crit and haste. Mark of the Distant Army, periodically summoning a rain of arrows. Mark of the Heavy Hide, increasing armor by 18. Mark of the Hidden Satyr, giving a chance to proc a single target damage bolt. And lastly, Mark of the Trained Soldier, increasing mastery by 14. The main thing I will be looking out for is the proc rate, but initially Hidden Satyr, Priestess and the Trained Soldier look like the most interesting options to try. So let's get enchanting. Oh. Each enchant requires 15 Chaos Crystals. These are obtained by disenchanting epic items. Looking into my bags, I currently have 3. Well, maybe I can get lucky questing to get the needed 15? We finish off Izuna first, but unfortunately no further epics were obtained, leaving me with 2 zones and 12 epics to get. After completing High Mountain, I end up with 5 whopping Chaos Shards, and 1 zone left. I may end up having to look into alternative solutions. But first, let's head down into Narian's Lair to finish up some quests. Rockmora is quite simple, as he does not hit hard, and he adds die swiftly with Starfall, which, by the way, since the most recent patch, is no longer a talent, and thus I have it available even in my single target build. Olarog is more of the same, and as long as I keep focusing the idols when they come out, he too falls swiftly. Off to Naraxis, who also suffers from low damage-itis, leading to another kill and a very uneventful dungeon so far. Dark Gruul as well falls in the easy category, as we make sure to bait the spikes and add spawns into good locations, while continuing to wail at him until he releases the Hammer of Khazgoroth for us to reclaim. Knowing there is a very slim chance I will get the remaining 10 epics from the final zone, I go and venture back into my class hall. As with the conquering of Narian's Lair, I have finished all 4 dungeon quests I was issued there. But apart from some golds, there is no reward or follow-up to this. As a final Hail Mary, I head over to the Broken Shore to see if by luck there are any vendors that sell epics, but unfortunately there is no vendor that I could find which sells epic gear. The only real way to get epics I need, that I see now, is to grind Dream Warden's reputation to Exalted and buy the epics for 4,500 gold each. An expensive and time-gated method, but until I find easier access to epics, I don't think I can get anything better than that. While all of that work seems wasted, I'm sure we will come up with a solution in the future, so why not take a small break from that grind and take a look at what the newest patch of the game has to offer for us. This patch introduces Timewalking classic dungeons and some new fun activities around the Caverns of Time, so let's have a look. We have a little wander over and make sure to talk to all the shopkeepers and quest givers, but unfortunately there do not seem to be many solo activities here. But I do pick up some Thunderous Plunder, which gives a +7 stamina well-fed buff, so at least we have some buff food for now. We take a seat and listen to one of Cho's stories before heading over to the world bosses to see if I can possibly solo them. Well, clearly the answer is not as a boomkin. But what about Guardian? I switch over and pull the Doomwalker, and actually manage to survive the damage for quite a while. It does help that he does a massive knockback, allowing me to get some quick heals in. And the Earthquake ability, where Doomwalker slams the ground repeatedly with a chance to stun everyone around. If I get lucky, I can get a heal off between stuns here as well. He does have a lot of HP though. Well, better get working on it, and it's ruined. The one thing that is hard about soloing world bosses is other players, unfortunately. When players see the boss engaged, they are quickly to jump in and fight alongside me, making it nigh impossible to ever catch them solo. The same goes for the other two bosses in the area, and Archivon I cannot even activate on my own. So we soon head back to our Enchanting grind. Even though it is still a little while away, there is something I need to prepare before I start Wrath of the Lich King dungeons, and that is to unlock the Sons of Hodir rep and Tabard. The Sons of Hodir grant a shoulder enchant item, which is unlocked after reaching Exalted Reputation with them. To get there, we will start out with some questing, and then once we unlock the Tabard, we will be able to grind dungeons to get a reputation up that way, as these Tabards grant you reputation for each mob you kill in relevant dungeons. So off we hit to Storm Peaks to start another questing grind. And a very buggy quest later, and when I say buggy, I mean really flipping buggy. We finally realize that the giants are the good guys and unlock the Sons of Hodir reputation. First things first, let's get this Oh, they don't have one. Well, I guess that was wishful thinking. We are left with some questing, dailies, and if we really want, we can also farm some Relics of Ulduar for a repeatable rep hand-in. After doing all quests and a round of dailies, I end up on 6500 rep. So only a couple of days really, and these relic hand-ins should get us all the way to Exalted. Now while we are doing that in the background, let's have a quick look at the shoulder enchants. There are 4 to get here. The Pinnacle one gives 4 dodge and 2 stam, the Storm one gives 4 spell power and 2 crits, Crag gives 4 int and 2 verse, and Axe gives 4 attack power and 2 critical strike. For tankiness I will probably refer to the dodge one, but I can keep some of the others in my bag if I ever need a tiny bit more DPS or if I need balance spec for one of the bosses. Because of all the greens and blues I gathered along the way while questing, I was also able to get some Lich King Enchanting going, getting +8 primary stat on my cloak and +5 all stats on my chest. 2 of the Bis enchants for now. Aside from that bloody neck enchant that I will keep craving from Legion, I have 3 more enchants that I'm looking for. So while we wait for the days to roll over, we head over to grind the next one, which is the Greater Agility enchant in Mists of Pandaria, for a whopping 7 agility on wrists. And while we are grinding for this, we can also unlock the offhand enchant, Major Intellect, for 11 intellect on an offhand, which will suit my Book of the Dead very nicely. While the offhand enchant just requires 50 enchanting, the wrists require revered rep with the August Celestials. More dailies to grind out. We head over to Pandaria, a place all too familiar to my solo player's memory, and start our visit by heading over to the Temple of the Jade Serpent for our first round of dailies. A short few minutes later, we get 2420 reputation. So it will take a while before we can get the rep to unlock the enchant, but luckily for us we have other things to do while we wait for the days to roll over. So why not grind out our enchanting to level 50 while we are here anyway. As I am flying around contemplating how I will get items to disenchant, I gravitate towards a rare mob. Upon slaying him, I get some gear pieces. I get back to flying and another rare mob appears on my map. Again, dropping a piece of loot. So why not farm rares for a little bit? This seems quite lucrative and there are a ton around. But wait, what's this? A Zandalari War Scout? Didn't these guys drop some decent loot back in the day? I take him down and my reward is more beautiful than I could have ever expected. A bag of goodies. But also, the holy grail of speeding up this daily grind. Rep tokens. This means that instead of me waiting weeks to get the rep up, I can use the life I don't have to grind this rep out? Count me in. The War Scouts spawn in each of the zones around preset locations, so the plan is to fly between them, killing all rares along the way for more gear and enchanting mats. Well, what am I waiting for? Cue the music! And after a bit more than an hour, we get revered with the August Celestials, as well as a bag full of juicy loot. Not only do we have a lot of gear to disenchant, we also have a couple of bags of supplies, with the most surprising ones offering some level 32 epic gear, and after that, a bag filled to the brim with enchanting mats. Let's see if it is enough to get us to that level 50 mark. We head over to the trainer to start enchanting, and soon after, we hit the level 50 we needed, and unlock the offhand enchant. And even though the game lied to me again, the 8 extra intellect is really nice. Now we just need to get 75 enchanting for the bracer enchant, and with the materials we have here, we can just about reach that. Leaving us with one thing to do. Go to the Celestials Quartermaster and buy the enchanting recipe. And with that, 2 more enchants scratched off the wishlist. What did you say? I've not shared the wishlist with you? Let me quickly go through them. For the neck enchant, I want the Mark of the Hidden Satyr or the Mark of the Ancient Priestess from Legion. For the shoulders, we will finish off the Sons of Hodor reputation. The cloak enchant is a Wrath of the Lich King one, called Minor Power, which gives 8 to main stats. The chest enchant super stats, also from Wrath of the Lich King, gives plus 5 to all stats. My wrists are from Mist of Pandaria, greater agility, giving plus 5 agility. Hands from Wrath of the Lich King enchant is also major agility, giving plus 7. Boots, also from Wrath of the Lich King, superior agility, gives plus 4 agility, although I believe there is a classic one that gives plus 5. And on the rings, we just get the plus 2 secondary stat one, pretty much from all expansions. And for the offhand, we have the major intellect enchant from Mist of Pandaria, giving plus 8 intellect. We quickly head back to Northrend to finish off the exalted reputation for the Sons of Hodor over the next few days, so that we can unlock the best shoulder enchantments outside of Inscription available to us. And with that, enchanting is almost finished. There is still the hands enchant, which we will definitely get after doing Wrath of the Lich King dungeons, but you will realize that I left something out. The weapon enchants. This is a whole other story to tell, requiring a lot of materials from all expansions including the Burning Crusade. So in the next episode it is time to tackle these Burning Crusade dungeons. But for now, there is only one thing left to do, and that is to remember. Bye bye!